It is exactly 13 minutes past the hour. Thank you so much for staying with us. Time now for that important conversation on the Daily Report on matters State of the Nation. We are delighted tonight to be joined by three gentlemen. On the left, on my left is Reverend Canon Evans Omolo, Provost at All Saints Cathedral here in Nairobi. Welcome.
Thank you.
In the middle is Alhaj Hassan Olenado, National Chairman, SUPKEM. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
And last but not least, on my right is Reverend Dr. Alphonse Kanga, Chair, National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK. Welcome.
Asante sana.
And I'll begin perhaps with you. Today we did see some political activity in terms of the way of pictures and a statement. The church and the religious leaders have talked about unity and lowering the political tensions. What did you make of that visit, that meeting by President William Ruto when he paid a courtesy visit to former President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yeah, as far as we're concerned, that's a good gesture. We thought it's a great thing, and what we have been talking about, unity, especially as we celebrate Kenya at 61. To me, that was a great gesture because we are celebrating Kenya at 61, where we are going to bury some mindset that is with Kenyan politicians all around. And that should also direct Kenyans to think, as we think about the state of the nation is the state of the people. The mindset that has been there, that the church is looking for accountability, and some politicians will say, you know, it's because the head of state comes from a particular community, and that's why we are doing this. Now, with that kind of visit, it shows that the issue of Kenya at 61 must be past where you come from, should be past your tribal orientation. So when the church calls about accountability, we call about accountability to all of us, wherever you come from. And so that brings unity, that brings strength, and Kenyans should see that and say we are one nation as we celebrate 61 years.
Alhaj, do you think that the political class, the presidency, is now listening?
Yeah, first of all, I think, as has been said by my colleague here, Dr. Kanga, is that it is a good thing. Because one thing that we need to remind ourselves as Kenyans is that the retired president is a citizen of the country. And it is always good to give them the space and the respect that they deserve, because they have something to share. And they have actually learned through the experiences that they have been in leadership. And because they are watching from the periphery, they can actually be able to make a positive contribution whenever the challenges arises. But more importantly is to hold the country together. That is very, very critical. And I think that was a welcome move by the President Ruto.
Provost?
Yeah, I think, George, you know, we are coming from a very, very heated political rhetoric, and different sides of the divide have been pushing for supremacy on both sides, and I guess those who reap from that were really happy when Uhuru would push far away and President Ruto would push far away. But I think for me, from where I sit, I'm really happy that two of our top leaders in this country are able to sit down and talk, and that in itself lowers the political rhetoric and temperature, but it also throws into confusion those who want to reap from division between leaders of this station. Therefore, for me, I hugely welcome that conversation and that talk, because that is what we want to see, leaders working together.
Over time, that we have seen one of the greatest and highest political, quote unquote, division, if you look at it, in modern day politics, and there has been a lot that has been spoken about the voice of the church. NCCK has come out, of course, in the recent past, but again at a time when Kenyans were sort of yearning and looking for and asking, where is the voice of the church in all this? What necessitated the re-emergence of the NCCK in terms of being vocal? First of all, was NCCK not vocal? Did you get a new voice after what was happening?
No, I don't think so. NCCK has spoken. There is a structure that we speak as a church. In most cases, when we say NCCK has spoken, it means we have sat together as an organization and we have agreed on specifics. What we said last week in our executive, we have said it before, but yesterday we brought the nation together and then we spoke into specific issues. And specifically, what are we saying? We are saying our role is basically accountability and prophetic. And NCCK has been there, the church has been there. So long as the state is there, the church is there. What is the role of the church and the state? The church and the state, they work as two sisters, namely that their interest is there must be peace and unity in the country. The client of the state is mwananchi, the client of the church is mwananchi, and so they work together. So whatever happens, always the church will speak. They have spoken, they have spoken, they'll speak, and they'll continue speaking. And so, did it just start yesterday? No, it has been there. It's only that sometimes people report what they want to hear. But this time we spoke specific issues. We talked about IEBC. We talked about bringing the unity in the country. We talked about Kenyan rising up to determine their destiny so that they should not be manipulated and dominated. Then we end up. We talked about IEBC where we said, please, IEBC is an important issue. If we don't deal with it now, we are preparing the country for chaos. We are preparing the country for what happened in 2007. Why? What about if somebody play games with the IEBC and then we come up with the IEBC in 2026? That would be chaotic because one, there'd be an issue of trust. Trust is there with Kenyans. What about if we play around with the IEBC until 2026? There'll be the issue of trust. And the issue of trust comes in and we are heading to general election, it'll be a nightmare. Not only that, there are people who are suffering. There are people that have never gotten their right share as far as justice is concerned, right share as far as their constituencies and their counties are concerned, because there are resources that are supposed to go to those counties, especially those who have no MPs. So are we fair to them? So for sure, we said IEBC is an urgent issue that must be dealt with. And what's the problem for IEBC? The problem for IEBC is the legal system. The legal system can, if they want to work with it, they'll work with it as early as yesterday and stop it.
Leonardo, what do you think? Why would the issues that perhaps, if you would resonate with them, the issues that have been raised, that even SUPKEM has raised, why is it, does it seem to be a reluctance or sluggish way of addressing them from the political class? Is it intentional?
Yeah, first of all, I want to correct one perception, the language that the media is actually using by saying the church has spoken. You know, Kenyans don't all of them go to churches. There are Kenyans who go to the mosques, there are Kenyans who go to the synagogues, there are Kenyans who go to temples. And the leaderships of these groups have always been speaking. They either speak individually or collectively. So when we point out and we keep on saying the church has spoken, then it seems that we are actually ignoring other important groups within the religious sector. I think the media need really to think of which word they want to use, because the more they use that, the more actually they're dividing the religious sector. But coming to your question, is that the truth is the religious leadership in this country have been speaking about what was spoken by the Catholic leadership, what was spoken by NCCK, and what every other person, including the civil society, have been speaking about. The concerns of Kenyans. Kenyans for the last 2 years have been facing challenges. We know the economy have not been performing well. We know a number of institutions are closing down, especially serious companies that have been working in this country. There are challenges in terms of even the collection of taxes, because the government cannot collect enough when the economy is not performing. Because for the government to get money, the money must be in the pocket of a citizen so that at least we pay for the services that we get. But the moment the economy or our pockets become empty, there is no way the government will get enough to invest or to develop the country. The minimum they may be collecting is quite something small for them to be able to do the normal things that they do. So because of all these challenges, the religious community and other like-minded Kenyans have been raising concerns that I think we need to speak as a nation, so that we really look at where we are and what is it that we can do to get ourselves off where we are, because we are not doing well. We have education in this country that's not performing. We have challenges. Even today, as we talk here, we don't know what's going to happen with the JCC, grade 9 and other things. We have challenges in the health sector, which have not been clearly solved They are still okay. They're teething problems with the Shire and Chief and many other things, which to Kenyans, we just want an open engagement with the state so that we can actually be assured on the steps that the government is taking on certain important policy decisions that the country is taking so that we can walk together in the journey. If we are in a situation where the political class shuts the door, remain in a different room, and then we have the rest of the Kenyans in one room, then you'll always have challenges in terms of not knowing. The other group doesn't know what is actually happening on the other side. The government may mean well. They may be struggling, they may be achieving certain things, but nobody knows what exactly is the government doing. So and one of the proposals I have seen many people talk about is a need of a consultative engagement or a transparent engagement where we have all stakeholders in the table, around the table to discuss on the future of some of the important issues that we feel as a country are not doing quite well. And we remember, as the Dr. have just mentioned here, we are celebrating 60 years. 61 years.
61 years.
When Kenya attained independence, the rallying call of the Kenyan independence was we have three enemies. That was ignorance, poverty, and disease. And those are the three things that we now face, that we are still facing challenges today. We still need to fix the three that we had a problem 61 years ago. And to me, I think it is a priority because the moment you touch the three, you are basically touching every Kenyan in wherever that particular Kenyan is, every corner of the country. Because we all of us need the health, we all of us need education, we all of us need to, a good life. So I think these are the key issues that we, the leadership must come to the table, must listen to the voices of Kenyans, to the voices of religious leaders, and any other well-meaning Kenyan who is actually demanding for an opportunity to have a conversation that will lead us from where we are to the next level.
Reverend Omolo, good to see. I've seen you've been nodding and agreeing to what Olenado has been saying. And looking at the whole issue of the response that we later saw from government, especially in the weeks, in the last couple of weeks that the religious leaders have been coming out to speak, do you think that is the response the church, the religious leaders should have expected? Is that how the government should have responded?
Absolutely not. You see, what's happening in this country, if I be blunt as I can, is that we have a near zero interest on the side of political leadership in this country to serve the people. And that is why when faced with the truth, as we saw the voices of our religious leaders coming out very strongly and pushing back things that are not happening right in this country, including lies and including promises that are never realized, you come to the realization, George, that there is zero interest on the side of government, on the side of cabinet, on the side of the president, and on the side of leaders that we elected in the August House to seek to improve the welfare of Kenyans. I say this because I have not seen, since the tenure of President Mwai Kibaki, a government committed to improving the welfare of the people. As Sheikh Olenado has mentioned, issues around education. You don't see a concerted effort and a sense of genuineness to improve that. You don't see an interest in turning the economy around, allowing money to circulate. You don't see that. It's President Kibaki who did that. President Uhuru tried, struggled a bit, but I think where we are now, we are sort of nosediving, and I can say that our political leaders are pushing back because the religious leaders have recognized that there is a systematic lying that is being laced with gifts and goodies to silence people so that they don't speak, because they know that when you speak, then we have a huge influence around people who attend the mosque, the temple, the church, and across the board. And there is a sense in which people will now begin to see the truth. I don't see a goodwill, and I want to call on Kenyans not to stop. That even if it means going to the streets, we must demand better because we pay taxes, and those taxes must be utilized correctly.
Reverend Canon Omola, you mentioned, sorry?
Yes, and that is
Just
why,
briefly, yes.
Yeah, that is why in our statement we said, we told Kenyans to arise. Arise and shape your own destiny. How do you arise and shape your own destiny? You arise and shape your own destiny by rejecting what we call ungenuine promises, promises that are done and they don't. Arise and shape your own destiny. Tell your parliamentarian that they should not become spanner boys. They should not be there just to be seen. They should be there to be heard to make decisions, but not to clap hands when the executive say they clap hands. When they say no, they say no. Executive says something, they stand and clap hands. What they hate, say no. So
these same Kenyans have accused the church for, quote unquote, handing over this presidency, this leadership that came through as the clean one, and yet it looked to have gone against its word. What do you have to say?
You know, when that has been an issue.
Yeah.
When do you say the church? I have always come up and say, what do you mean by the church? There is the church structured and there is the church individuals.
Yes.
The church structured speaks through specific systems. What happens if the National Council speaks? When the provost of the All Saints Cathedral speaks, he'll speak through the Anglican systems. And nobody has told me that at one day, the Anglican sat and gave a letter and said, we are supporting so and so. Anglicans are part of the National Council of Churches of Kenya. Not at one time in our executive committee, we sat and wrote a letter and said, from today, we are supporting so and so. What we do, Kenyans, and the church is that the church is non-partisan. The church will always support, but individuals in the church structure will operate in a system. The church individuals can say whatever they want, and when they say they have a right, okay? But when I speak as NCCK, I need to have something to quote. So no, we say the church did. Yes. Yeah. First of all, it's a right.
Let me just come to the
Dr. Kanga, I really wanted to come on to Dr. Kanga to correct something, but
let me say something.
Yes.
I think it is also wrong for us actually to assume that a certain group, let me say again, the church, for example, this candidate belonged to this group, this particular group. The good thing about our country, this is a country that is governed by a secular system, and we agreed as a country that we are not a religious country.
State,
We agreed that we are a secular state. That the membership or the leadership of this country are free to belong to any religious sect they prescribe or they agree with, and that cannot be said that certain person, because he comes from this particular group, now this group have actually anointed or appointed this person to be in that leadership. Otherwise, if we go that way, we are going to be in serious problems.
Okay.
Because we have to rescue this country. We have been struggling with ethnicity. We have not been able to address the problems of the ethnicity. If we move to the next level and bring religion to the center of politics, then I think we are going to lose this country. It is important that we try, as our level best, to disassociate or to remove the religious institutions or the religious groups from the center of politics, so that we can save this country, so we can have at least a place where we can run to as a country.
Professor, you need to take a break.
Exactly.
Yes.
That exactly is what I wanted to say, what Sheikh Leonardo says. You know, religious actors like ourselves are meant to be referees, so that in a situation of conflict, we can mediate. But the moment Sheikh Olenado has two politicians who are vying for a particular one position in his mosque, under his jurisdiction, then Sheikh Olenado chooses to side with one, what happens to the other one? It means I'm not welcome, I'm not invited. Or if they fight, where will they go to? What we are saying is that religious actors must step aside from over-engagement in taking sides in politics and remain as referees. In this country, we have, when you go to the side of the church, we have three broad groupings. We have KCCB, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, you have the NCCK, and then you have the Evangelical Alliance. Again, I want to correct something here for our viewers, that when on the side of the church, when you say that the church supported a particular presidential candidate or mrengo fulani, that is wrong. Because as Dr. Kanga said, no church came and endorsed. There were sections of the church, and I say very, very clearly sections. And those sections, you didn't find them in the NCCK, and you didn't find them in the KCCB. A few characters within the Evangelical Alliance chose to swing, we call them Pentecostals, chose to swing behind certain political candidates, the deputy president, who is now the president. And I want to call them out tonight, that by the time you're endorsing as an individual or as a congregation a particular political candidate, then 2 years down the line, you realize, whoo, the one we endorsed is now the wrong one. Now it's time to pray them out of power. Then you realize that you've lost the prophetic voice. And that is why Dr. Kanga, Sheikh Olenado, and myself are saying, disengage. We maintain what we call a critical distance with politics so that you're not too invested such that you cannot think or correct when things go wrong.
Absolutely.
But that does not mean...
Allow us to take a break. We've been pressed for this commercial break. Let's take it because the discussion is just getting started right here in studio. But when we come back, we continue to discuss these matters of national importance. Please stay with us.